I know linear sounds old school in a world where every game wants to be open world with a million side quests, but honestly, sometimes you just want a focused story, clear pacing, and a game that knows exactly what it wants to deliver. These are the titles that pull you in, keep you locked in, and actually finish strong instead of dragging for 80 hours. So if you're tired of map icons, checklist gameplay, or endless grinding, this list might remind you why linear games still hit harder than anything else. Let's get into it.
That's not nice.
Alan Wake 2 is the kind of game that pulls you into its world so deep you forget you're playing a sequel. It's stylish, unsettling, and constantly blurring the line between reality and madness in a way only Remedy knows how to do. The writing is sharp, the atmosphere is thick, and every location feels handcrafted to mess with your head. It's not just a horror game, it's a full-on narrative trip where every clue, every shadow, and every shift in tone keeps you hooked. It's easily one of those must-play linear experiences you remember long after the credits roll.
Shit.
Black Myth Wukong feels like a myth brought to life with insane attention to detail. The world design is gorgeous, the combat hits with real weight, and every boss encounter feels like a moment. It's linear, but in a good way, always pushing you forward into something new without wasting your time on filler. The game nails that blend of challenge and spectacle, making you feel like you're stepping through ancient legends. Even if you're not a Souls-like fan, this one is worth trying just to see some of the most impressive visuals and creature designs in modern gaming. Clair Obscur. Expedition 33 is one of those games that immediately stands out because of its dreamy, painterly art direction. It mixes real-time movement with turn-based strategy in a way that feels surprisingly smooth and addictive. Every area feels surreal, like wandering through a watercolor nightmare that's just beautiful enough to keep you from looking away. The story moves at a tight pace, the characters are oddly charming, and the whole experience feels like stepping into a playable art piece. It's unique, memorable, and perfect for players looking for something fresh and focused. Detroit Become Human is basically an interactive movie done right. It's linear, but your choices shape how the story feels, making every scene hit a little differently depending on what you decide. The characters are incredibly well acted, the world is believable, and the emotional beats land harder than you'd expect from a game mostly built around dialogue. It's the perfect sit back and get absorbed type of experience. Even if you play it once, the story sticks with you because it's grounded, human, and full of moments that make you stop and think.
You're coming with me.
Ghost Runner 2 is pure flow from the moment you pick up the controller. The movement is insanely smooth, the combat is fast and unforgiving, and every level feels like a puzzle built around timing and precision. You'll die a lot, but the restart is instant, and the game pushes you to improve without ever feeling cheap. When you finally nail a perfect run, it feels unreal. It's short, sharp, stylish, and incredibly satisfying. Exactly what a linear action game should be. Ghost Runner 2 doesn't waste a second, and that's what makes it so addictive.
A pilot scrap untouched for a century.
Up until last year, this area was heavily guarded. Master had a tight grip on all the resources in Dharma.
God of War 2018 is one of those games that reminds you how powerful a linear story can be when everything is crafted with purpose. There's no wasted space here. Every fight, every quiet moment, every conversation between Kratos and Atreus pushes the journey forward. The combat feels weighty and satisfying, the world is gorgeous without being overwhelming, and the pacing is spot on from start to finish. It's a rare mix of huge cinematic moments and grounded emotional storytelling. Even if you know the franchise, this one hits completely differently and stays with you long after. Gris is the kind of game that says more without words than most games say with entire scripts. It's visually stunning with hand-drawn art and colors that shift as the story unfolds emotionally. The linear structure keeps it focused, letting you soak in every moment without any distractions. The platforming is simple but meaningful, carried mostly by its music and atmosphere. It's not about challenge, it's about feeling something. Gris is short, gentle, and soothing in a way that makes it perfect for a quiet evening when you just want a beautiful, calming escape. HellBlade is intense in a way that hits deeper than combat or scares. The binaural audio makes it feel like voices are whispering directly into your head, pulling you into Senua's mental state as she struggles through grief and trauma. The linear pacing keeps everything tight and immersive. There's no downtime, no filler, just pure atmosphere and storytelling. Visually, it's haunting, and the acting is incredible for such a small team. It's the kind of experience that sticks with you because it's uncomfortable, emotional, and brutally honest about its themes. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle feels like playing through a big adventure movie from start to finish. It's super linear, but in a fun way, constantly throwing puzzles, action sequences, and classic indie moments at you without slowing down. The pacing is sharp, the humor lands, and the whole game nails that old-school adventure energy. It never tries to be overly complex or open, it just focuses on delivering a tight, well-made journey filled with cinematic moments. Whether you love the character or not, it's a great one-and-done experience. Inside is one of the most quietly disturbing games ever made, and it doesn't need a single line of dialogue to achieve that. Everything from the animations to the sound design is crafted to build tension as you move through its dark, oppressive world. The puzzles are clever but never frustrating, the pacing is perfect, and the final act is something you will not forget. Seriously. It's short, focused, and incredibly impactful. Inside proves that a linear game can be gripping without explosions or cutscenes. All it needs is atmosphere and smart design. It Takes Two is easily one of the most creative linear co-op games ever made. Every chapter throws a brand new mechanic at you, platforming, puzzles, mini-games, weird gadgets, and none of it feels repeated or stretched out. The pacing is incredibly tight, the humor works, and the levels look like someone dumped an entire toy store into a Pixar movie. Even though it's a fun, goofy adventure on the surface, it also hits some surprisingly emotional moments. It's the kind of game that makes you appreciate how good linear design can be when every moment is handcrafted with purpose. Journey is short, simple, and unforgettable. It doesn't tell a story through dialogue. It uses music, visuals, and quiet moments to guide you through a world that feels both massive and lonely at the same time. The linear path works perfectly because it keeps the emotional beat steady, pushing you through sandstorms, ancient ruins, and snowy climbs with a sense of gentle momentum. And if you happen to meet another real player along the way, it turns into this strangely personal, wordless connection. Journey is proof that a game doesn't need complexity to leave an impact. Jusant is a peaceful climbing adventure that feels like a breath of fresh air. The linear structure pushes you upward, literally, as you scale a massive abandoned tower with nothing but your gear and some quiet environmental storytelling. The climbing system is simple but satisfying, letting you plan your holds and pace your ascent without pressure. The world feels mysterious, calm, and beautifully empty in a way that encourages you to slow down and take in the view. It's one of those games that's relaxing without ever getting dull, perfect for when you want something chill and focused. Life is Strange is messy, emotional, and incredibly human in a way that makes its linear story hit surprisingly hard. The time rewind mechanic gives you control over conversations and outcomes, but the game is more about the characters than the choices. Max and Chloe feel real, with all the awkwardness, mistakes, and raw moments that come with teenage friendships. The pacing stays tight, each episode builds tension, and the soundtrack just fits perfectly. It's a grounded, character-driven story that sticks with you long after you're done.
Fucking up all these alternate realities.
Wait, alternate realities?
What do you mean, Max? What did you do?
I fucked up, Chloe.
Bramble looks like a cute fairy tale at first, but it quickly dives into dark folklore that hits harder than you expect. The linear structure lets the game go all in on atmosphere, switching between eerie forests, unsettling creatures, and emotional story moments that feel handcrafted. The music and visuals carry a lot of weight, giving each chapter its own tone. Sometimes creepy, sometimes beautiful, sometimes straight up brutal. It's one of those short narrative adventures that leaves a surprisingly strong impression because of how unique and focused it is. Dispatch is one of those tiny, focused experiences that grabs your attention with almost nothing but sound and tension. You're stuck in one room, listening to calls, making decisions, and trying to keep your cool as things slowly spiral into something darker. The linear pacing is perfect for this format. No wandering, no filler, just pure atmosphere and rising pressure. It's short enough to finish in one sitting, but the way it builds suspense makes it feel much bigger. If you enjoy narrative games that rely on mood and sound rather than action, this one hits surprisingly hard.
Is it that obvious?
Yes, fucker, it is.
Well, then answer the question. I don't want to sit here and fixate on it when we're supposed to be doing whatever, superhero shit.
Indika is weird in a way that feels refreshing instead of confusing. It leans into surreal religious imagery, dark humor, and philosophical moments that make you go, what did I just play? The linear progression keeps everything steady, letting the story and visuals take the spotlight without overwhelming you. It's the kind of game that isn't afraid to be unconventional, jumping between tones, sometimes funny, sometimes bleak, sometimes just plain bizarre. Despite all the oddity, it stays emotionally grounded, and the pacing makes the whole journey feel neatly wrapped and memorable.
If we don't get everything dry, we'll freeze to death.
Mirror's Edge is all about momentum, and the linear design is what makes it so addictive. Every rooftop, wall run, and timed jump feels like part of a perfectly crafted rhythm game. The clean, minimalist world pushes you to focus on movement, and once you get into the flow, the game feels almost hypnotic. It's challenging but fair, rewarding precision and timing in a way most modern games don't. The story is simple, but it doesn't need to be more. Mirror's Edge is about speed, control, and the satisfaction of nailing a perfect route without stopping. Neva hits that emotional, artistic vibe that games like Gris and Journey do so well. It's visually stunning with soft animation and a gentle atmosphere that slowly shifts as the story takes darker turns. The linear path keeps you moving through beautifully designed areas without ever overwhelming you. What really makes it work is the bond between the characters. It's subtle but strong, and the game knows exactly when to hit you with quiet, emotional moments. Neva doesn't rely on complex mechanics. It simply guides you through a heartfelt, memorable journey. Nier Automata blends fast-paced action with one of the most thought-provoking stories in gaming. Even though it has multiple routes, each one is linear and carefully designed to reveal new layers of its world, characters, and themes. The music is haunting, the combat is smooth, and the way the narrative shifts perspective keeps you hooked long after you think you've seen everything. It's emotional, weird, philosophical, and surprisingly impactful for an action game. By the time the credits finally stop rolling, you realize why people call it a must-play experience.
Do you think they even understand the concept of being scared?
Portal 2 is one of those rare games where every single moment feels handcrafted to entertain you. The puzzles are brilliantly designed, smart but never frustrating, and the writing is genuinely funny, not forced. GLaDOS and Wheatley carry the story with perfect comedic timing, and the pacing keeps you moving from one clever idea to the next without any filler. Even though it's linear, it never feels restrictive because each test chamber introduces a new twist that keeps things fresh. Portal 2 is simply a masterclass in clean, focused game design that still holds up perfectly today.
Use a postcard, too. Sorry, fellas. She's married. To science. There's 1,000 tests performed every day here in our enrichment spheres. I can't personally oversee everyone.
The Forgotten Sands is a classic linear action adventure that knows exactly what it wants to be. Fast platforming, fun acrobatics, and simple but satisfying combat. It never tries to overload you with open-world fluff or side content. Instead, it focuses on fluid movement and tightly built levels that feel great to run through. The story is straightforward, but it works, and the elemental powers add just enough variety to keep the gameplay engaging. It's the kind of game you can finish in a few sessions and walk away feeling like you had a clean, well-paced adventure. Control throws you into one of the weirdest, most fascinating worlds in modern gaming, and the linear structure is what makes it so impactful. The oldest house constantly shifts, revealing bizarre rooms, unsettling events, and supernatural mysteries that pull you deeper into the story. Jesse's abilities feel amazing to use, especially once you start mixing levitation and telekinesis into combat. The narrative is strange but addictive, and the pacing keeps you moving from one surreal moment to another without slowing down. It's stylish, weird, and one of those games that just sticks with you. The Resident Evil 4 Remake is basically the perfect example of how to modernize a classic without losing its identity. The pacing is tight, the action is intense, and every encounter feels like a handcrafted set piece designed to keep your adrenaline up. The linear structure works perfectly here. Each chapter brings new enemies, new locations, and a steady build of tension. The combat feels weighty and satisfying, and the remake's visuals make the world even more immersive. It's fast, clean, and packed with memorable moments from start to finish. Rise of the Tomb Raider blends cinematic storytelling with tight, focused level design that keeps the adventure moving smoothly. It's linear at its core, but the semi-open areas give you just enough freedom without distracting from the main path. The action sequences are big and dramatic, the platforming feels fluid, and the tombs are some of the best puzzles in the series. Lara's journey is engaging without dragging, and the pacing balances exploration and combat perfectly. It's one of those games you can binge in a few sessions and stay hooked the entire time. Sifu is the kind of linear action game that feels brutally honest. You either learn its combat or it wipes the floor with you. But once it clicks, the flow is insane. Every level is tightly designed, every enemy placement has purpose, and the aging mechanic adds this constant tension that pushes you to improve. The animations are gorgeous, the hits feel heavy, and the whole game plays like a tribute to classic martial arts films. It's tough, but incredibly rewarding, and the short, focused structure makes every run feel meaningful instead of padded. Silent Hill 2 Remake brings back one of the most iconic psychological horror stories ever, but with modern visuals and atmosphere that make it feel even more unsettling. The linear pacing works perfectly here. Every hallway, every fog-covered street, every encounter is designed to push you deeper into James's mental state. The game is disturbing without relying on cheap scares, and the environments feel heavy and oppressive in a way few horror games manage. It's a slow, deliberate descent into guilt and trauma, and the remake keeps that emotional weight intact while modernizing the experience. Solar Ash is a fast, dreamy adventure that's all about movement. You're skating, dashing, and sprinting through massive, colorful environments that feel alive, but never overwhelming. The linear structure keeps you moving forward while still giving each zone its own personality. Boss fights are big, stylish, and fluid, almost like platforming puzzles mixed with Shadow of the Colossus energy. The world looks soft and surreal, and the story carries a surprisingly emotional tone beneath all the speed. It's easy to get lost in the rhythm of it without ever feeling stressed or stuck. Spec Ops The Line starts like a typical military shooter, but slowly turns into something much darker and more unsettling. Its linear design works in its favor. The story hits harder because the game forces you along a path that becomes increasingly uncomfortable. The more you push forward, the more the world changes, and the more the narrative digs into the psychological cost of violence. It's not about flashy gameplay, it's about the emotional punch. By the time it ends, you realize you've played something far more impactful than a standard action game.
Tango down! Enemy down!
Jedi Survivor blends tight action with a focused story that keeps the pace moving even when the levels open up a bit. The combat feels weighty and satisfying, especially once you start mixing different stances, and the set pieces feel massive in that classic Star Wars way. The game is still very linear at heart, pushing you through cinematic moments, big boss fights, and emotional character beats without dragging. Cal's journey feels personal, the worlds are beautiful, and the pacing stays strong from start to finish. It's a polished, high-energy adventure worth experiencing.
They were waiting for us.
Stellar Blade is one of those games that hits you right away with its clean combat and stylish presentation. It's super crisp, super flashy, and honestly just fun to play when you want something that feels tight and responsive. The world has this mix of sci-fi mystery and post-apocalyptic vibes, and every area feels handcrafted instead of just filler. The boss fights are the real highlight though. They're tough enough to keep you awake, but not unfair. And the whole thing has this smooth flow where exploration, combat, and story all support each other without dragging. Just a really solid single-player ride. The first Berserker Khazan feels like one of those games built purely around vibes. Dark fantasy, heavy atmosphere, and combat that just feels aggressive in the best way possible. It's gritty, fast, and has that weight where every slash feels like it hurts. The world is full of corruption and twisted enemies, and the way the story leans into Khazan's downfall and rage gives it a different flavor from typical hack-and-slash games. It's not trying to be overly complex. It's more about style, mood, and powerful encounters that keep pulling you forward. If you enjoy brutal, story-driven action, this one hits the spot. The Last of Us Part 1 is still one of those games that sticks with you no matter how many years pass. The remake just makes it even cleaner, but the core experience, that emotional journey between Joel and Ellie, is what makes it special. The world feels ruined but believable. The pacing is tight, and the stealth combat mix still holds up better than most modern games. It's not about constant action. It's about the moments in between, the quiet tension, the choices, and the way the story builds without ever feeling forced. If you somehow missed it, this version is the perfect way to play it.
Got you. You ain't going nowhere.
A Plague Tale Innocence surprised a lot of people, mostly because it doesn't rely on massive set pieces. It's all about atmosphere, tension, and the growing bond between Amicia and Hugo. The stealth and puzzle elements are simple but satisfying, and the setting with the plague-infested world gives the whole game this unique, eerie energy. The rat swarm system is still one of the coolest mechanics in any narrative game, and the story just keeps getting better as it goes, constantly pushing the characters into harder and more emotional choices. It's a slow burn, but a very rewarding one.
Don't fall. Don't fall.
We won't fall. Hold my hand tight.
Uncharted 4 is just peak adventure gaming. Nathan Drake at his best, a story that actually hits emotionally, and set pieces that still hold up even years later. The game mixes exploration, climbing, puzzles, and shootouts so smoothly that you never really get bored, and visually it's still stunning, from the muddy jeep chase to the pirate ruins. What makes it land, though, is how personal the story is, dealing with Drake's past and the whole one last job situation. It feels like a proper send-off, full of charm, chaos, and that cinematic energy the series is known for.
Go as fast as I can! Because that'll be close!
And that's it. 35 linear games everyone should experience at least once. If you've played any of these, drop your favorites in the comments. And if you haven't, maybe this list just gave you your next must-play. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.